we've been talking to people here about that, and I think it's very important that the Cup of Nations happens so regularly, because it's a real way of improving the infrastructure of African football and getting it out there to the world. So I think, you know, quite a lot of these clubs get African players at relatively cheap prices, considering some of the most talented footballers in the world are playing in the Premiership and in Europe who are African. You'd spend a lot more generally on a young English player than you might do on a young Ghanaian, Senegalese player. And so, yeah, you might lose them for 2 or 3 weeks every 2 years, but I think that's the price that the clubs have to pay. And they go away, get international experience, they become high-profile players, they become worth more. And I don't think managers should really complain too much if...
But you say they pay them the big bucks.
Well, exactly. You know, they're losing the players for 2 or 3 weeks out of the Premiership season. I can understand it's frustrating when so much rides in every game, but I think, you know, African players should be going back and playing for their countries. It's very important for them to do so.
Okay, but you are an FA coach as well. If you've watched the standard of play, the quality of play at this Nations Cup, what exactly is it about the goals? Is it about what is it that's about this Nations Cup for you has been wonderful?
It's definitely, like Dennis says, it's definitely improving year on year. Back in England, there wouldn't be too much interest in the Cup of Nations maybe 10 years ago, but every year or every tournament, it's becoming a much bigger deal. I think it's like you said, there's more and more high-profile players.
I'm sure you were in London when the opening match took place, Ghana, Guinea.
Yes.
How big was it in London?
It's, like I said, it's much more widely advertised. It's on BBC now, so you can watch every single game, and there's a highlights package at 7 o'clock as well. So there's quite a bit more publicity around the tournament. I think that's generated because there's more interest, because there's so many more African players playing in the Premier League, and not just playing, but, you know, dominating the Premier League. Drogba and Essien at Chelsea, you know, 2 of the best players in the Premier League, 2 of the best players in the world at the moment. So people want to watch him. So suddenly people want to watch the Ivory Coast play Ghana because there's 2 world stars playing on that game. So that's having a real knock-on effect.
Okay. Okay, you're still on Soccer Night. Soccer Night brought to you by PK Chewing Gum, One Touch, Zoom Lion, Ghana Limited, Alu Metals, Baltic Nexan Cable Metals, and Afritel Shuttle. They make this particular program a success and possibility. I'm going to be asking, they've talked about Michael Essien and Didier Drogba, and I'm just going to ask them, who for you has been your star performer? Who do you think that after group stages of football has really lived up to the billing?
I'd probably have to go with Drogba. I think we were at the Ivory Coast game in Accra and very impressed. I mean, he only went off after 60 minutes because they've qualified and give him a rest, but he stands out in every game he plays these days. For Chelsea, he's been looking really, really good the last couple of years, and there's talk that he might be moving on to AC Milan or Barcelona or somewhere like that, which is, you know, maybe a step up, but he's really become a player which is, you know, dominating world soccer at the moment.
What was Samuel Eto'o?
Eto'o, he's been injured for a long time, I think, the last couple of seasons at Barcelona. They've got a lot of strikers now, so he's lost a little bit of the limelight with Henry going there, with Messi coming to the forefront and Ronaldinho being there as well. He's scored, hasn't he? So he's made the 15th goal, I think, the record all-time leading goal scorer in the tournament, which is a tremendous achievement, of course. I think he's still up there as one of the best strikers in the world, but Drogba, in my opinion, probably now has got a bit more to his game.
More to his game. Okay, but we do have the CAF of what's happening. It happened today. It's got to be Drogba, Michael Essien, and Federico Canute. Who would you go for? Best player of Africa in the last year.
Canute's had a bad tournament. I think he's not done a great deal. He's been brilliant for Sevilla over the last couple of years, particularly in the UEFA Cup. Between Essien and Drogba, I think Drogba is probably, certainly when he's playing for Chelsea, probably the best footballer, best centre forward in the world at the moment. Maybe Torres as well, but Drogba's got everything. He's so difficult to shrug off the ball. He can score with his head, both feet from outside the box. He gets tap-ins as well. And at the same time, Michael Essien is a powerhouse in midfield. You know, he's again a complete midfielder. Probably only put Steven Gerrard up there with him, but I think if I had to pick somebody, I'd probably just about go for Drogba, I'm sorry to say, in Ghana. But Essien, I have to say, the first half against Morocco, he was almost winning the game on his own. He was everywhere. He scored one, he made one. He was winning brilliant tackles in midfield. So it'll be really, really interesting to see at the end of the tournament which one of those two is got the winner's medal.
The winner's medal. Yeah. It will be a dream final, I guess, when Ghana meets Ivory Coast in the final. But Dennis, in terms of star performance of the group stages, who would you be looking at?
I'll go for the midfielder, Yaya from
Yaya
Ivory Coast.
Toure?
I think he does the simple thing so well, and he reminds me a little bit of Patrick Vieira with his physique and, he gets up and down the pitch. I'm very impressed with Junior Gogo. I'll tell you the reason why I'm impressed. I think Ghana, we've always had strikers that play in a different way. Agogo is coming and is giving a little bit more of the English type of play, which I think Ghana needed at one time. It's big, hustles, he chased after every low scores, and I think I'm being quite impressed with him as well as Ricardo, who's playing out of position. So those are the three players that they look good to me.
Good to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's look a bit let's move away from and look a bit like the North African countries. A lot of people say they don't do well when they come down south or come to West Africa, but it looks as if they've been fantastic. They've executed the business very well.
Look at Egypt. Look at how well they've played. I would agree with that. I think, they mean business. They're the current.
You think they can defend it?
I think they could defend it. From what I've seen so far, yeah, I think they could definitely defend it. They got a big chance. They've got a very big chance. I mean, they're going about the business in a quiet way, but don't be surprised. Don't be surprised about Egypt.
Talking about players of the tournament, Zidane of Egypt has really come to my attention as well with his early performances against Cameroon, I think it was a couple of tremendous goals.
Putting 4 goals past Cameroon.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously signaling their intent, aren't they? Egypt are here to defend this trophy. They're not going to give it up lightly. They're a well-organised side, good solid goalkeeper, and a real exciting talent in Zidane. So definitely one to watch.
Talking about Cameroon, do you think that they've come back really good after that first game, after losing to Egypt 4-2 in that first game?
Yeah, I guess they had to, didn't they? They're one of the nations that a lot of expected of them. And that first result's losing your first game in any tournament is always going to be a bit of a shocker, and losing it quite convincingly, like 4 goals, is very difficult. But they're bouncing back, as you say. Eto'o is a good quality player, and quite often in these tournaments, it's the team that peaks at the right time that maybe struggles in the group stage. Remember France doing it in 1998 in the World Cup. Sometimes the team who starts a bit slowly but then builds and builds is the team that goes on to win the tournament. So anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Your biggest surprise of the tournament?
I guess Angola have been very good. Beating Senegal really quite comfortably. We watched that game on the television, and they seemed to dominate Senegal completely. That was quite surprising. And I've forgotten the name of their young player who scored 2 goals.
Manucho.
I think he's just been signed by Manchester United. He looked brilliant that day. I really did think so. And I think, maybe they're a dark horse for the tournament.
I think you commented on when you saw that game, his hat-trick, I think. Was it header, right foot, left foot, or 2 headers?
2 headers.
Either way, he looks a good signing.
He's got 3 goals for the tournament.
Yeah.
And this is his first time playing outside Angola.
Wow. Right. Okay, well, he's obviously rising to the challenge. Maybe he's a big game player.
That's right.